Welcome back to another episode of Buckle Up with Simon and Brian. Simon, you are not in your typical setting again. Where the heck are you now?
Well, Brian, I don't know what shirt you're wearing today, but I am wearing a Leadville shirt, a volunteer shirt actually, because it is race week and I'm in not Leadville, but Copper Mountain ahead of Leadville 100. Very excited. We already saw each other, but how are your knees, Brian?
My knees are well. I'm resting. Been getting a lot of sleep. My my resting heart rate doing well. My HRV numbers are doing really well. I'm chomping and itching at the bit to run, but I'm trying to save it for Saturday morning at 4 a.m.
And for a few more hours than that.
Starting then.
All
Yeah.
right, starting, yes, exactly. Yeah, Leadville is always such a fun race, fun time to meet all the friends. And for us, actually, obviously, you're racing, Brian. I think you're going for your ninth buckle. So not quite 10 yet, but that's coming up soon.
One at a time, Simon. One at a time.
Yep, I'm definitely far behind that, and we have quite a few friends also lining up for the race. So it's gonna be fun to be all together for 5 minutes at the beginning, and then you guys, you fast runner, you youngster, you go ahead, and I'll catch up later.
Yeah, that's right. Altitude endurance coaching, my coaching business. We have 6 athletes, seven including myself. Between you and I and our friends, gosh, there's probably another 6 or 7 easily. So even though Leadville's a pretty big race with 800 participants, in the mix, that is a decent amount to know, maybe 15, 20 participants at the starting line. So it'll be super exciting and fun. Hope to see all you guys out on the course. And with the out and back format, we'll definitely see each other, whether I'm behind or ahead. So
Yeah, for sure. And I think, a race like Leadville is a lot about the community. It's a lot about the people, the friends that you have on trail, the people that you met there. That's where we met. But today on our episode, there's someone I met earlier this year at another race at Tahoe 100 mile. She's our guest today and really showing that of the 800, for example, this weekend, there are great stories. And I'm very fortunate that I met her at Tahoe.
but I thought it was really interesting the context that you met and the fact that you're right. Like we just don't know everybody's story at the starting line of these events. And Lorena Rubio has an amazing story. And I'm so glad you met her. I'm so glad that we were able to share this story and have this conversation with her. Gosh, she is a fighter. She is a fighter.
And a bundle of energy and being positive and smiling. She's always happy. Even when I met her on the course, she told us she was struggling. I did not realize that. I thought she was happy and having the greatest time of her life, but apparently not. But always smiling, always laughing. It was a great conversation.
Yeah, I really think that this conversation particularly will really resonate with the ability to fight something bigger than yourself, get through those struggles that you personally are challenged with. The listener, Simon and I, Lorena really dives into some struggles that she's had and how she's made it through it. And so, without further ado, here is our conversation with Lorena Rubio. Hi, Lorena. Welcome to the show. How are you doing this evening?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you for having me, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice to have
This
you on the show. We've spent quite a lot of time together with you and your husband in the past few weeks racing together. So it's fun to, after all is over and our body is feeling a little bit better, and we can
Yeah.
talk and we can smile and we can think back of the good time, quote unquote.
Yes. No, thank you for having me. Really, I appreciate that.
Lorena, there's a lot to unpack here. You have a great story. And gosh, I want to dive deep into it, but we usually start at the beginning. How did you find yourself in sport? How did you find yourself in ultra running or
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Give
all
you
of
a
that,
little
any
bit
of
of a,
that?
I'll give you a background. So, this year will be 10 years since I've been running. I started out running in 2014 and I started running road running like most people do. So it started out with a half marathon, then a marathon. And I was also very, very avid hiker. And Rocky and I at the time were in our first stages of dating, and we would do a lot of hiking. And we just found ourselves moving super fast. And so we thought, why not combine ultra trail running with our, love for the mountains, hiking and running. And so it just made sense for us to start to, go into the avenue of ultra running because it was going to be a good combo.
So
I
it was the beginning of your relationship with Rocky?
Yes, yeah, yeah,
Is that the
yeah.
stage where, you almost dare each other? You say, let's run an ultra marathon, and you're too shy to say, "Ooh, I don't know about that."
Well, the funny story is that prior to me and him actually becoming a thing, like I said, I was running my road running and he had done some road running on his own. And when we actually came together, by that time I had ran 3 full marathons. And so I told him, I said, if we're going to be doing this, why don't you at least do one marathon so you can get that under your belt and see the experience? It really is an awesome experience. And I was all about the training process of it and really encouraging him to go through it so that he could see what it was like to run a full marathon. Because when I started to run, I couldn't really run an extensive period of time. I began running to lose weight, to get in shape, to become fit. And so to me, it was a big deal when I ran the half marathon and let alone a full marathon. So to be able to share that with him, it was like really, really big. I wanted him to get that runner's high and feel it. So we tackled his first marathon, a year or two after our relationship, and then actually discovered ultra running through communities like Instagram and the such, where other friends were doing ultras and then they invited us to do one. So that's more or less how that actually came about.
So he must really love you, huh?
Yeah. You know what?
That was the test.
I think that I do think that running is a huge thing in our relationship. It is a big foundation because we're both very active people. We can't sit still, and so we love to move. We love to challenge our bodies, and running and ultra running, for that matter, challenge us and our relationship because it's a balance of running and training and eating right and balancing life. And so um I couldn't do it alone and I know he couldn't either. Like we are a good team and so it's worked out really well for us. We've done quite a few awesome things. So I'm very proud of us.
Lorena, you just shared that you started the journey 10 years ago. Did you have any history of sport, like growing up? Were you into any sort of
Um
sports or just not really into it?
I actually was a swimmer. I was a swimmer
Hmm.
in my younger years between like the ages of 10 and 16. And then I was a cheerleader, of course. Um, and I did a little bit of track, but didn't really stick. It was more of like, I was more into the dancing things. And so I did some folklorico, but I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would love running the way that I do now. Never. It never was the thing. But one thing I do remember is being that person that would want to wake up early in the morning to go get a workout, to want to be in shape, to want to be, you know, um, more of a very active individual. And so it doesn't surprise me that I love it now, but I never thought it would be this big for me.
That's a great story. I really enjoy that. It's neat that you've found running just a bit later in life. Not that you're old by any means, but just in the
Yeah,
last 10 years, it's not something that you grew up with or have a history of in the past. Um,
yeah,
I want to dive a little bit into the journey of cancer, and you're a cancer survivor. Can you tell us about the cancer and kind of
yeah,
how that ebbs and flows with exercise, with ultra, with your
yeah,
life?
yeah,
Where are you at with that, and what's that journey been for you?
yeah. So, in retrospective, when I committed myself to wanting to lose weight and to, be in shape, 10 years ago, I was 34. So I'm 44 currently. Um, I never ever thought that it was preparing me for now. Never, ever in my mind. Never. I just thought, you know what? I need to lose weight. I need to be in shape. I wasn't too happy with myself. I have a 26-year-old and a 20-year-old. And at the time, they were about to go into high school, middle school. And I looked at myself and I said, I don't look like a very healthy mom. I want to be healthy. I want to be able to be a young mom with my young kids, right? So I never knew that getting healthy was going to help me the way that it did now.
Hmm.
And the way that it helped is 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and breast cancer does not run in my family. Um, we felt the lump back in 20 during COVID, but I went to go get a mammogram and they misdiagnosed it. They said it was nothing. And so they said, you know, you don't have to worry about it. We'll check again in your annual mammogram next year. So the following year was 21. And in that year, Rocky and I ran our first 100 miler. And at the time that we ran that 100 miler, we trained really, really hard, extremely hard. And we were the best shape of our lives, running, extreme mountains, doing many, many, many miles.
So in 2021, after running our Rio 100 miler, both Rocky and I were in the best shape of our lives. And I never thought that I was running with cancer. I never really felt sick. I never had any idea, any inclination that cancer was going to be a thing going into 22. But going into 22, we ran a 50 miler in Alabama Hills. And during that training season, I started to feel warmth in my breast, and I started to feel pain, and I started to have, various symptoms that I just started to think, okay, this is not normal. This is not normal. And because I was so in tune with my body, so in shape, doing a lot of yoga and so much running, I knew that there was something wrong. It was no longer like just a little thing. It was definitely bigger. So, my first instinct was to, talk to my mom, talk to my sister, find out, have you felt anything? Has there been any history of cancer in our family? And there was none. And so I thought, why? Is it something? So I promised myself that as soon as my race was over, that I'd go and make an appointment to see a doctor. But I had a very big intention to make sure that they would do a really good look, and not just a mammogram, but also an ultrasound, because there's many stories of, breast cancer not being found through a mammogram. Yeah. So I wanted them to dig deeper. And not because I wanted to hear bad news, but because I wanted to be sure this thing had grown. And so I knew that there was something wrong. So the race happened the first week of May. My son graduated in June, and we went on a trip to Washington to backpack the enchantments. And on our way back was when I had that appointment. I had the biopsy. I had the appointment, and they said, yeah, there was something funny there. And they recommended that I do a biopsy. And that was a shocker. I didn't know what a biopsy was. I didn't even know that it would be done in that moment when they found that there was, a mass. I thought they were going to send me home and I'd be coming back and I could have Rocky with me and so on and so forth. But it all happened really, really quickly. And I can honestly say that when a biopsy is done, you feel like, okay, it's not normal and there's something wrong. So by Thursday, June 30th, I found out that I was diagnosed with the cancer. And Rocky and I immediately said, we're going to, tackle this. We're going to handle this. Like, there's a problem. We got to face it. We got to do what we got to do. And so the shocking thing was how good in shape I was. That was the biggest shock. It was like, how could this happen? Why? I've been running so well. I've been in the best shape of my life. There's no history. But there's so many reasons why it could have happened to me that I can't pinpoint one. It'd be wrong of me to say it was this, because there's a variety of things that could happen, but I got it. And the good thing is that I was in shape and I had a very, very, very strong mindset. And the mindset came from ultra running. I get emotional because I really, really would not have been able to get through it if it wasn't for ultra running. And what I went through every time that I conquered a mountain, every time that I conquered a race, the simple fact that I had conquered 100 miles, even my first marathon, gave me the feeling that if I could do that, I could do anything. And so I didn't know what cancer was going to be or how hard it was going to be, but I did know that I was committed to fighting and fighting really hard. So we started to have, meetings with the doctors, endless meetings from a regular general doctor to a plastic surgeon to a I can't think of the name right now, but my general doctors, I
Oncologist.
mean, yes, oncologists, thank you. The oncologists who, would discuss the chemo treatment, if any, and then the radiation. So it was like one after the other, just one. And we took step at a time, one step at a time, because it was too much to take in. And we started to discuss what was going to happen. What avenue was I going to take? Was I going to do a full surgery? Was I going to have treatment? Was I not? Things like that. So, in my case, I opted to just go ahead and have a full removal of my breast, for the simple fact that it was hard enough to go through it once. If it ever came back, I don't want to deal with that again. I just don't. I'm just had the idea that it's a really ugly thing to go through. I don't want to do that again. And I had full-blown support of my partner and full support of my family and an ultra running community, which brings me to Run for Lorena, that said, you know what, you do what you got to do. You're strong and you're going to get through it. And you go into these blindly because you don't know. You don't know. All you do know is that you want the cancer out. And so in my position, I was like, just do whatever it takes. I don't want to deal with it. I want it out. So I had told my friends, I'm going to have a surgery. We're going to remove the cancer, but I don't know when I'm coming back. I don't know if it's going to be a year. Everybody tells you the worst, right? Everybody tells you you're going to be sick. You're going to do this. You're going to lose weight. You're going to lose your hair. You're going to go through all this. You're not going to be able to run. And I thought, okay, I'll see you guys back in a year, 2 years. I don't know when I'll be back. But after my surgery, I had a double mastectomy. I started to walk 5 weeks after the surgery. I was pretty healed and I started to walk and I felt good. I just went with feel. How did my body feel? So I started to walk, and I have a good friend who's a race director for a race called the John Wayne Grit Series. And they have races in 5 different states, and they're all in efforts to raise money for cancer research and also cancer patients and families and the like. So she reached out to me and she said, we're having a 10K in Lone Pine, which is the last place that I had raced. And she said, why don't you come out and just walk it? It would be an honor to have you. You just went through this ugly, endured this surgery. Come out, and I see that you're moving. You can just walk it. And I said, okay, let me ask Rocky. So of course I asked Rocky, and he says, yeah, let's go. It's 6 weeks since your surgery. Are you sure? And I said, yeah. He said, okay, let's go. So we go to Alabama Hills, and it's a 10K, 6 miles. And I end up running like half of it. I end up jogging after a mastectomy. And so everybody was like, what? Rocky was like, don't run, don't move. But I'm like, no, I can move. I feel great. I feel great. And before you know it, I was running. And it was mind blowing. It was like, wow, you just went through this big surgery. You just had flesh taken out, like that's crazy. But I felt good. So I kept moving. And so coming back from that trip and experiencing that, I said, I'm going to keep moving as long as I feel good. Nothing's going to stop me. I'm just going to keep moving. And we had an appointment with the oncologist very, very soon after, who then told me that I had some more cancer found in my lymph nodes. There was lymph nodes in my arm. And so 3 lymph nodes were removed, 2 had cancer. And because it did, they were suggesting chemotherapy. And I wasn't prepared to decide whether the chemotherapy was going to happen prior to the surgery. The surgery had to first happen, and then they would tell me if I would need it. So when they said that I was going to need it, I said, okay, how long is it going to be? And they said that it was going to be anywhere from 6 weeks to 12 weeks. It all depending on the level of grade and how big, the cancer was. So they came back, and my score was like 2 points away from maybe only requiring the least amount of chemo. But because it was only 2 points away, I said, let's just go with all the way. I don't want to take a chance that anything stays. So we ended up with 16 treatments of chemo. And because I felt good, I told Rocky, I promised myself that I would move 30 miles a week. I would move 30 miles a week on the day that I had the chemo. And on my off week, when I would be resting, because I had it every 2 weeks, I'd move 40 miles. And he was in the process of training for a 100-miler that he ran last year. So when he was training his long runs on the weekends, I would go with him. And because he was accompanying me and I could accompany him, he'd go out and do, 20 on trails, and I would go out and do 15 or 14. So I would do a little less with him than him, but essentially I started to run on trails. And so during the week, all I did was walk because I didn't want to put my body through too much during the chemotherapy. But on the weekends, I felt pretty good about trail running. I thought it's, the mountains, it's easy going. Rocky's out here with me. I'm going to take my chance. And that was, my treatments began in October of 22, and they went all the way through March of 23. So I had 5 months of treatments. And going into the new year, because his training for his 100-miler really went strong, he signed up for a 50K, and I ended up signing up for a 30K. And of course, my mom was like, why are you racing? You're on chemotherapy. Are you crazy? Everybody thought I was crazy. My best friend was super, super nervous. She's like, you're on chemotherapy. Are you kidding me? Of course, I'm bald. I lost my hair. And I said, I can move. I feel great. I feel great. And of course, I wasn't going to race it. I was just going to go out there and move my body, right? So I went out and I conquered my first 30K under chemotherapy in January. And then because that went so well, I thought I can do another one. And maybe I'll do one in February and one in March to finish it off. And so I signed up for a second one in February, and I actually placed third. I ended up doing really well. And so that motivated me. And I did another one in March. So I ran 3 official 30Ks during chemo. And I started radiation in May or April, ended in May. And during radiation, I ended up having 25 treatments of radiation. But because it's not as heavy to the body like chemotherapy, I actually ended up increasing my miles. And my miles went so high that I did probably 70 to 75 miles a week during radiation, which was incredible. But I believe that it went hand in hand. I think that I was motivated to move because my body was strong for it, because my mental was so strong, but also feeling so good, and all of the feelings that you get, that runner high, allowed me to also stay so positive throughout the treatments. And so they went hand in hand. I couldn't have done it without it. It really, really helped tremendously. And having those accomplishments during that hard time just made me feel like I can't give up. There's no way. I have to keep moving. And in April, I signed up for 100K in October, called Cuyamaca 100K. So that was my motivation. And I told my friends and everyone that's going to be my comeback race, because I'll be done with chemo, done with radiation. My reconstruction surgery had to be postponed until December, but I was out there running with it. I didn't care. And that was the funny thing, is that even that, I didn't know that I was going to be so open to showing my new body. I had no idea. But when I was moving, I thought, I'm alive. Why would I not want to be out there? I'm alive, and that's all that matters. If I have less or more, it doesn't matter. I'm alive. I'm going to move. And so I did Cuyamaca in October, and it was a dream race. It was a comeback. I did really, really well, 16 hours and change. I think I was like top 20 women. I mean, it was a phenomenal race. It was just a dream come true because I thought I wasn't going to run for like the next 2 years. And here I was a year later after my mastectomy, actually running 100K. Was pretty incredible. Yeah. So that's that story. And then I signed up for the 100 miler for Tahoe, and that was a dream come true. But I think that was a big accumulation of everything. That's what Rocky really, how he puts it, and he's right, because I went through another 100K in April, and that was not as successful as Cuyamaca. My nutrition was not the best, but I was also not 100% fully trained because I had a reconstruction surgery in December. So I had to literally back up 2 months and only walk. I couldn't run. And so my training for a race in April wasn't as long lasting as I would want it to be really, really ready for a race. But I still went for it, and it was good practice for Tahoe. Whatever went wrong, we made sure it wouldn't go wrong in Tahoe. And so Tahoe ended up being like a huge success. And I thought I was going to be crazy emotional because I'm like, okay, I'm crossing the finish line, completely done, my new me, everything. But I wasn't as emotional in terms of being like all these crazy emotions. Is mostly happy, just so happy. So like, wow, like I have a team here. I have my health. I'm alive. I'm running. This is just only my second 100. There's going to be so many to come. And then I wore Run for Lorena. And I wanted to wear Run for Lorena because Run for Lorena is what I haven't been able to share much about, but Run for Lorena was truly special. Run for Lorena was created by my girlfriends. My girlfriends, when they were first found out that I was diagnosed, they were all like, Lorena, what? Why Lorena, right? And so they were so sweet that they created a run for me in efforts to send me off on my surgery in good spirits. But they also created a fundraiser, and they created a page, an Instagram page, so that they could put this together for me. And they ended up fundraising $15,000, which was amazing. And they also showed me how much my community loved me. And there was so many people that came together. There was at least 130 people who showed up. About 20 different people that donated things to do for prizes. From Nathan to Hoka to races to things for running and the like. And at this event, all kinds of communities came together to support me. And as you guys know, social media can be so impactful, so big. And so I had been on social media for a good 9 years. And Rocky and I have always been supportive of all our friends. And this came back to us in a very beautiful way, one that not too many people can experience, because it was really, really, really beautiful. I mean, I almost said to people, I feel like I'm like at my service, but I'm alive because it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. And because they did that for me, it gave me so much more reason to fight, because all these hundreds of thousands of people were believing in me. And so I thought, you know what? I got to do it for them. And my friends, after it was all said and done, gave me the passwords and access to these accounts. And so after my surgery, and I was able to really, really take it all in and accept my, where I was in life, I said, you know what? If I have a voice and I'm going to be able to share it, I'm going to share it. I'm going to show other women that it's possible, that we can be beautiful, that we can feel beautiful, that we can feel able to go out there and still live lives normally, even after something so ugly. Why not? And so I put it out there on Run for Lorena, and I shared my journey, my lows, my highs, all of those things that I just mentioned to you, I was able to share on Run for Lorena. And through that, many friends recommended my page to other women in our sport that were diagnosed with cancer after me, which was like, what? Because before cancer, I never knew anyone that had cancer, but now I do, of course, right? And so when they see me running, they're like, if you can do it, I can do it. So I can name you like a good 3, 4 women that were in the journey with me that went off to do what I did because they were just as strong. They were capable. And I know that I motivated them, and I'm so grateful that I could do that. That makes the journey worth it, you know? It makes you think, you know what, there's always a silver lining. I could be upset, angry, bitter, sad, the whole negative stuff, but I choose not to because I'm alive. And that's really, really the most precious thing. And grateful that I had, like I said, Rocky, my family, my friends, the ultra running community, the hiking community. So many people came together. There was no reason for me to not want to fight. So, Run for Lorena is a big deal for me, and I wanted to do that at Tahoe. I didn't do that at Cuyamaca, but I felt that Tahoe was good, and it led me to Simon.
Yeah.
It really did. It led me to Simon because, you know, we were all in Run for Lorena gear. So everybody was asking, what's that? What is that? What is that? And you never know. You never know. And my team wanted to wear it. I actually did not have the idea at first, but my crew chief, Cindy, said, you have to, we should. Yeah, let's wear Run for Lorena. And so there I was, hurrying up, making my my gear for my crew. And it turned out beautiful. And I'd like to make Run for Lorena a thing. In the future, I'd like to make it a nonprofit and actually fundraise money for some sort of cancer organization. I'd like to make it a run out here in our town, like in Griffith Park or something, maybe a half marathon or a 10K. But you know, I'm getting back to life. I'm a financial advisor, and I work really, really hard. And I'm getting back into life. You know, I was 10 months without working, so it's like I'm coming in hard and strong, and so I have to balance a lot of things, and that is something that I want to do, but it'll have to be a little while before it all actually comes together.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much the story in a
Yeah.
nutshell. That's the story.
I mean, thanks for sharing the whole story. And I think both Brian and I had the same reaction, which is we felt like asking question, but at the same time, how can we interrupt, you know, such an emotional story? And I really appreciate that you take the time to share that with others, because maybe you didn't know anyone that had cancer back then, but I can say it's so common. Almost everyone knows someone who has or will have cancer or will have it themselves. And it's a journey that is extremely challenging. So hearing that you were able to go through that, and even just all the phase that you've mentioned, um, everyone will go through that. You know, there's always the why me? Why is it happening? It's not in my family. And sometimes what I've heard is, and I think you reflect that very beautifully, there's not necessarily a reason why it happened to you, but it happened to you because you were strong enough to go through it and to
Yeah,
overcome that. And I think obviously, you know, I wish you never had cancer. You know, that's
right.
that's pretty obvious, but I'm glad to see that you had the support and community also. And if we're trying to be a little bit lighter, the story of how we met is at Tahoe. It's pretty simple. Nora needed a ride, and I looked around at the starting corral. I was like, okay, who looks like a big crew that is well organized, very friendly, smiling, joking, that I feel I can go and say hi. And then there was you and your team, and I was like, they have matching T-shirt. They're all smiling. You know, I'm sure they're gonna say yes. I went to you guys, and absolutely no regret. Would have never imagined the story that was behind, you know, the T-shirt and everything. But the more we found out, and the more, you know, we discover about it, and it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. I
Yeah.
remember also when we were on the course, when we saw each other on the course, I'll be honest, I was nervous about you. I didn't even know then that, you know, you were coming out of chemo and radiotherapy, but I wanted you to finish, of course, because you guys gave a ride to Nora. So hey, I'm biased, but I was worried. I'm always worried. There's so many people DNFing, and when I saw you, I was like, oh, she's she's totally fine. She's doing better than me. And I was so happy to see you go through. You were behind me, but we kind of crisscross at maybe like 5 mile apart. And I was like, she seems fine. And you were in good hand. You had your girl pacing you. I was like, she's finishing. And I was so happy to hear that.
Yeah, yeah. Tahoe was awesome. It was everything that I wanted it to be and more. And it was hard, hard, hard. It hurt a lot. I know that you know the feeling that we felt going up that climb a second time around after Diamond Peak. It was like, why are we doing this? This is ridiculous. But I had the best pacers. I had the best crew. I was blessed with the way that my crew came together because I didn't plan out the crew really too far out. It was more like, okay, we have to get a crew together, and it was really getting people that were closest to me that have endured the journey with me, and that's who went with me. It was my dear friend Cindy, my dear friend Lourdes, and their better halves. And what better team to go with me that went through the journey with me, not only on the trails, but also in real life, like outside when I needed them to be at home with me and they came to support me. It was beautiful. It really was. Um,
Yeah. And I think
and
it, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Yeah. And I think it really shows the importance of having a strong community. And it's applicable, sure, for running and trail running, but also through your life. And I think it's easy for you to say, you were surrounded by nice people, but I'm sure that their reaction would be that they're very happy to have you in their life, and when it's your time to need help, they will help you, but they know, and I'm sure you've done it in the past, when they're the ones struggling with something, you're there for them. And that's the whole point of having a strong community. And I mean, not to make too many parallels, but I think in trail running, the sport in theory is individual, but really, I've never felt like I'm competing with others, and I've always felt that anytime I succeed at something, it's with other people. Either it's crew pacer, but it's also fellow runners. If I was named Jim, Courtney, or something like that, maybe that would be different. But we're mid-packer. We're there where we all want to succeed, and we're support
Yeah.
each other no matter
Yeah.
what.
Yeah, and that was something really cool about doing Tahoe is that I do want to add to that, since you brought this up about the community, is that I was very, very, had an intent to make my training for Tahoe something like adventurous, something different than the norm. Because going into Cuyamaca, I trained by myself a lot. And it was that comeback race. My fire was different. My desire was different. My motivation was slightly different. It was a comeback race. But Tahoe, I was like, you know what? I want to get back into the adventure runs that Rocky and I do when we go out to, the mountains and we backpack and we, go do a bunch of peaks and the like. And so with my crew, we ended up doing some incredible routes. In fact, we got a fastest known time. We actually have a fastest known time for what's called the OC Traverse out at the Santa Ana mountain range. And we got that as a part of our training when we did a 50 miler. And so my friends Cindy and Jose had the fastest known time prior to us going out there, and they beat their own time by 2 hours. And now the four of us have the fastest known time in efforts of my training for Tahoe. And we did that about maybe 5 weeks before Tahoe. So we were going into Tahoe on a very high note. We're like, we have an FKT. Like, what? This is incredible. And then Rocky and I backpacked the first 50 miles of AC 100. We actually backpacked, and I should say fast packed is what he called it, because we went as light as we could and moved as fast as we could over a period of 48 hours. So we got to go out. I got to see him explore his course, see him see it for himself before the actual race. And so we had a lot of fun going into Tahoe. So again, I just think of Tahoe as being one of those things where it was accumulation of everything that has happened in the last 18 months. And what better than to go out to Tahoe, where it was something, an unknown territory for me. And I just said, the hell with it. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to come home with a buckle. And it's a beautiful buckle. I
Yeah,
wear it
you were wearing
literally
it.
every day. I wear it every
I
day.
I think I
I
think
wear
you're
it
wearing it
every
right
day.
now, aren't you? Yeah, she's wearing it right now. Yeah.
That's
I wear
perfect.
it to
For
work. I wear it to work. And every time I have a chance to tell my clients, I show it off. And they're like, that's why you have a big smile. I said, yes.
Lorena, what a beautiful story. I really appreciate you sharing it with us. What a wonderful journey that to come on the other side out with the outcome that you have.
Thank you.
The metaphors of running in life that we all use too much almost. I would say for you have really paid off, right? You found a community and health and fitness in running, and it paid off for you. It's just a beautiful story. You talked about mental fortitude, and what did that look like for you? Where does that come from? Is that something you've always had, or did you have to dig deep to find it in this particular situation?
I
Where is that from?
I appreciate you asking that because you know what, now that we're talking, I feel definitely less nervous. I do want to share about that. I do want to share about that because I couldn't do it without the way I was raised. My parents. I'm obviously an immigrant from Mexico. I came here when I was 4, and my parents said, we're moving to another country for you to have a better future. And so that did something to me. That put a lot of light into how I would view my future and the things that I'd want to accomplish because I had someone to always make sure that, I did it for. My parents always expected a lot out of me. And I'm the oldest, which is a big responsibility. I'm the oldest of 4. And so my mom always says, I never had a problem with telling you to do your homework or to get good grades or to do this or to do that. You're always a go-getter. And when Lorena says she's going to do something, she's going to do it. So when you say you're going to do something, it's like you always get it done. And so I owe that to my parents, really. I've just always kind of had that mentality, but for sure, ultra running strengthened it like completely. Um, I did have my boys very young. I was only 18 when I had my oldest son. He's 26 now. And I went to college and graduated with a degree in business finance, 6 years into it. So I was actually a mom in college. And then I had my second son when I graduated college. So they're both graduating babies to top it off, but they were my motivation and my reason to see, I'm going to thrive and I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be those statistics where they're not successful. I'm going to beat the odds. In other words, I wanted to be different. And so I my mom just said, you just always want to strive for better. And I suppose I own up to that, which is great. um but I never ever thought that running was going to give me the mental strength that it has. Because I kid you not, when I talk about running with clients, especially clients, because I love talking to my clients about it, many times they're out of shape, looking for something to do because they're retired. And some like, maybe you want to move. When we talk about that, I always tell people, if you ran one marathon and you never ran again, at least you can say you did that. At least you can say that you've accomplished a marathon. And the training process to accomplish a marathon is a beautiful journey because it could be 12 weeks of preparing for something like a big day, a big wedding, your graduation or whatever. That day will be special because you would have done 26 miles, which not anyone can claim to do. So I always say, when I did my first marathon, that's when I said to myself, Lorena, you can do anything at all. But it hit home even harder when I did my first 100. And I crossed the finish line with the love of my life. We did it together. We actually ran together all 100 miles, Simon, all of them together, Rocky and I. And when we did that, we were just in disbelief that we could do that. So then 5, 6 months later, I'm diagnosed with cancer. It's like, we can do that. We can beat it. Why not? We've accomplished big things and there's nothing that can stop us. So I'm just very blessed and really lucky to have that kind of love and to be raised the way that I was. And just really, really just grateful for life. I can't express that enough. I think gratitude is huge.
Yeah, I mean, racing with your loved one is a test, by the way, for anyone who has not run an ultra marathon with your loved one. The running is the easiest part sometimes. And I'm always impressed by people that do that. I did the 100K with Nora, and it went fine. Mark and Liana, our friend, also did Tahoe 200 actually all together, which when they told us they would do that, my reaction was like, you guys are really stupid. But they did it. They proved me wrong. So it's the ultimate relationship test. You know, it's when I was in Sweden, it was called the IKEA test. If you go to IKEA and you're still married afterwards, it's a good sign.
Yeah, no, and we stuck it out and we were there together. And now when I analyzed how that race went down, I thought, you know what? We needed each other. We needed each other. Like we needed each other through those lows. And I can honestly say when it comes to running, by far, Rocky has made me better by far, because I'm always, especially in the earlier part of our ultra running, I had to chase him, you know, he's much faster than me. So the conversations would be like, keep up. And I'd be like, but just wait. And, you know, he'd be, keep up. And so that stuck in my head. And there I am again, like my parents would say, I'm like, I'm going to get faster. I'm going to get faster. I'm going to get stronger. And I can't express how much like he has helped me grow in running, because, you know, I'm better for it. I'm better for it. So when he said we're racing together, I said, are you sure you're much faster than me? He said, no, we're going to do this together. And I'm just so grateful that he did that, because it was a beautiful journey. And I think we are planning on doing another one together at some point. I just need to get a little bit stronger. You know, it's been difficult to have to go back and forth since the surgeries. It's like, you know, my body's like, but I still did Tahoe, so I got it in me still.
I
So
mean,
I'm excited.
a tip that I would have for you, and if people don't know, I provide tips for ultra runners. So you could try to go faster, but you could also try to cook unhealthy food for him so he'll be a little slower. Have you considered that?
I could, right? I could put a little something.
Yeah. Here, have these donuts.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my next race will be AC 100. I'm in for
Okay.
next year. So I already know what I got to do. I already have big goals for that race. And yeah, I'm going to get back in it. But this is our lifestyle, and we're blessed. We're really, really happy. And I'm appreciative of giving the opportunity, like you said, with you, to be able to come on here and share it with someone. I don't actively go on Run for Lorena all the time, because you know what? I've also come to realize that while obviously breast cancer is going to be a life story of mine in my journey, I don't ever want it to overwhelm me and define me all entirely, you know, because I'm stronger. I'm so much stronger for it. But when I do big things and things that I think need to be known on Run for Lorena, then I'll put something in or something. I just don't want it to always be a thing for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you
I
don't
have
want the disease to define who you are.
right.
You're a full human being. Of course, you went through that,
Yeah.
but you're much more than
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And I haven't never even hashtag like survivor. I've never even done that. It doesn't feel right to me, because I think we're surviving every day. I think every day is a challenge. I don't think I'm a survivor and then it's an end all. Every day is a challenge, whether you look at it from a health perspective or a work perspective or a relationship. Every day is a challenge. So I have to take a daily pill for the next 4 years. I have 4 more years to go. It's a tamoxifen, and that is to minimize estrogen. And so to block estrogen, and so that the cancer doesn't come back. And that is a daily reminder. I don't feel that I need more reminders. You know what I mean? And I don't want to boggle down my personal social media by saying I'm a survivor, and like be a boring thing. I'd rather it be like, you know, an inspiration when in fact you might need it, not all the time. So Run for Lorena is there, and I'm more than happy to share that. People will follow if they'd like to. And yeah, that's where we're at.
Lorena, I wanted to touch on the Run for Lorena site and the connection that you have with others going through similar challenges. Is there any advice that you have for our podcast listenership is actually growing? We're up to like 24 now. We were at 12 just a few weeks ago.
Nice.
But do you have any advice for our 24 listeners if they're going through tough times, how they can face them, or if they have loved ones that are in a similar situation, or just having a tough time in general? They're surviving the day. Do you have any advice for how to survive the day?
For me, I think that an easy way to surpass stuff is two things. Know that everything is temporary. Everything is temporary, good and bad, right? So if you can overcome and just get over the hump of whatever hard thing you're going through, if you could think of it as being a temporary and that there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel, there's going to be that breakthrough, I think that helps people. And I talk about that breakthrough actually quite consistently in my training for Tahoe, because I went through a lot of pain going back into training from my last surgery. My legs were so not ready because I had only been walking for 2 months. And I went back out there to run, and I was in pain. I was in constant pain, and my feet just, it was just like, wow, like this is really, really hard. I know my legs were strong, but just physically inside, I wasn't ready to run right that fast right away. So I said to myself, if I can break through that pain, then I'm free. After that, I'm free. I'm good to go. So it's all about getting through that temporary pain to be able to come out of that. And then I'm also really big on attitude. I think attitude is everything. And you can't be positive all the time. Rocky says, you're the most positive person. Like, you can never be negative. And I'm like, I guess, I don't know. I just really, really, really always want to be positive, because if I have a positive attitude, I have a positive outlook, I have a happy face on my face. I just really like to think positive. And I know we all can't. And it's a decision that you have to make. You have to actually decide to have a right attitude about it. It doesn't just come to you. You have to make that decision for yourself. I believe that wholeheartedly.
We've been recording for about an hour, Lorena, and it is more than obvious that you have a positive attitude. Everything about you, it just radiates sunshine and rainbows, which is beautiful, and it goes along with your journey and your story.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you coming on and telling that story with us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm so happy that we got to do this.
Lorena, where can our listeners catch up to you at? You mentioned Running with Lorena. Where else are you on social media, on different sites?
I'm on, so the Run for Lorena is just at Run for Lorena. My personal Instagram is Lore Loves You, LORELUVSU. And then my Facebook is Lorena Rubio. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time again. Where you mentioned Angeles Crest 100 as your next event.
Yeah.
What is the lead up? What does the lead up for that look like? What do you got planned between here and there? Like just smaller events to kind of build some fitness?
Yeah. So I'm going to be doing a 50K, the Ray Miller 50K, which is in the Santa Monica Mountains. And then I'm also going to be doing another race in Barstow called the Calico 50K in January. After that, I'm not sure. Most likely something like Leona or Bulldog, but I'm not 100%. I haven't, lined up all the races necessarily. But my training block will most likely begin in December. I'm going to definitely, start going, because we'll have that race in December, and that'll be a kickoff.
That's great. We'll be rooting for you and all that you do, and we'll be following along your wonderful journey. Again, congratulations, and thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, Simon. Pleasure meeting you, Brian.
Yeah.